Experiential learning is not like learning in a classroom. Experiential learning enables us to get students into an environment where they see the world differently and they see themselves differently. Because when you read something and acquire knowledge, you can absorb all kinds of things, but until you start to put it into practice, you don't really discover the kinds of things about yourself and your own interests and your own capabilities that really start to connect you to the subject matter. So when we do something that's experiential, it's really more than just having people go out to show off what they can do. It's to help them actually learn from the experience more about themselves as well as the subject matter and the world around them. It's just fundamentally different.
If you think of management, it's applied science, and part of what we do is we teach them the concepts, we teach them the theories and frameworks, but the only way they will actually learn them is by actually applying these concepts. And that's what we try and do with experiential learning.
I think some of the benefits include the students getting a chance to see the inner workings of a company. And so they often see how executives in the company make strategy, how they make decisions about entering new markets, and just overall how they organize the different parts of the company. Oftentimes students, as they come in as employees, they miss that larger picture, but these student projects often give them the opportunity to see the wider operations of and strategy of a company.
It's pretty critical, because if you go in with just a theoretical knowledge of things such as management, leadership, and you really don't know how to apply this in the workplace, you're not really going to be that successful. We do know that soft skills are critical for our students, and these are the skills that they will actually learn by applying their learning in experiential projects.
Right, the experiential learning has to benefit the clients, essentially. And we see it as a mutual beneficial process where the students will provide something to the clients and provide them the kind of a perspective that the clients may have never thought about.
The students spend a fair amount of time working on these projects in the classroom, and our clients get a lot out of it because they're getting some really smart people working on projects of value to them. And they gain a lot by having these bright minds in their workplace. Employers gain a lot because the students, any mistakes that they've made, any learning that's taken place, will actually be a payoff for them when these folks go back into the workforce and work for them.
Well, I think there's a high level of enthusiasm that students have, and I think companies really benefit from that. So it isn't about billable hours and a contract like you get from a consulting firm. It's more of an enthusiastic group of students who oftentimes are very, very capable, but they also have the benefit of having their professor there, and in most cases the professor adds value and helps the students kind of cultivate their enthusiasm, but also learn new things. So I really think it can be an extension of the company's own staff, but I also think it gives them a chance to have a group of very eager, well-trained students to help them. And then I think finally, in the case of with some of my students, companies have seen them, liked them, and then hired them. So it gives employers an opportunity to screen people and find good employees as well. Well, I think employers like to see that students have experienced real situations, have been involved in actions that lead to tangible results. So I think that situations, actions, results, that whole combination is really valuable for employers when they look at a potential employee. Well, I've worked on a number of projects with my students. Some of them have involved helping a company look at their existing strategy, evaluate it, and then develop a new strategy for an existing market. I've also worked with student projects that have focused on entering new markets. So they've analyzed the nature of that new market and then how to develop a new strategy for that new entry. And some of the more valuable projects have have been when my students have been working very directly with people within companies. And so, for example, one of my teams went around and worked with the division within the company, but also with its customers, trying to understand the value that the customer got from the product, and then going back and helping our client company improve how they presented not only the physical product, but also the services that went along with it.
My experience with this type of learning is just that you really need to be able to look outside the box and figure out a way to apply what you've learned in school to real life. Whether it's through a marketing project or you're trying to build a business, there's a lot of ways that you can apply some of these things to real life and learn from them. Even if it means just starting a little business selling candy around your neighborhood. Doing these types of things can really help you develop the skills that you're going to need to use later down the road, and give you sort of that mentality of, this is how I can apply this sort of textbook learning into actual real life situations. Really just the real life exposure and application of a lot of the things that I learned in graduate school. I think having this real life experience is important, not just for a graduate student, but for an undergraduate student, because not everyone has the ability to take sort of textbook textbook information, if you will, and convert that and apply that to real life situations.
Yeah. So the most valuable part of this experiential learning was that it made me very confident, and it made me very courageous. Like when I did these real world projects during my student time, I put forward a lot of ideas. I, along with my team, put forward a lot of ideas, but we saw that the corporate world did not discard it, saying these are students' ideas and not to be considered seriously. They did work on it, and some of them, I'm happy to say, they're being implemented. So now, having graduated 2 months back and now in the workforce, I really see myself being very confident in front of my executive team and putting forward the ideas. And all this is thanks to the experiential learning which I had over the past 2 years in putting the ideas across.
The school could do well with having more of these types of projects. And it forces you to apply what you're learning here in school to real life and actually getting out there and doing things. Because when you're out there in the world, it's not about multiple choice answers and word problems. It's actually about being able to be strategic in your thinking, in your knowledge, and the way that you apply that knowledge to real life. So at the end of the day, yeah, it's really important to do these projects. And I recommend, not just doing the projects that are required of you as part of class, but to get involved in some of your associations. Do work whenever you can. Just try and build something, even if it's a small dog walking business in your neighborhood. It can help you develop the skills that you need later down the road when you really want to try and launch your software business.
I remember my days when I graduated from college and what you learned was out of a book. It was good, it was fine, I've done well, but in reality I think that actually shortchanged my education because I didn't have to, it's just pretend. I think the difference here at Cal State is it ends up being a real problem. They're dealing with practical issues that are actually affecting our company today.
We think working with the students is going to give us the ability, because it's not just a one-time experience. We want to engage with them throughout the semester or quarter, and we want to be able to really get in-depth relative to the findings that they're coming up with. So we think that we're actually going to get better information than we will in the private market. So we think that we have a sense of where the market is. We think by working with the students in this class, they're going to give us some true guidance to where we should go next and how we should grow and what would be the most appropriate and most effective way of doing that from a marketing and a branding and a service perspective. So we're really looking forward to it. We think we're going to benefit immensely from their work.
I hope to get from the student projects fresh ideas. One of the challenges that we have is when you work within the same group all the time, and sometimes you end up with sort of groupthink. When you work with the students, they ask a lot of questions that challenge the base assumptions that our company has worked under. And they're not clouded by all the reasons why things don't work. And they come up with, one, what is accepted, how customers think today. And I really think that a lot of the projects they've done, they've really cut through the morass of data and analysis and really got to the fine points. The Cal State students have worked on an amazing variety of projects for Peterson. We've done everything from truck projects, where we've asked students to come up with a brand new go-to-market strategy that we're launching in the Bay Area, all the way to high-tech equipment like our GPS and leveling devices for SciTech. I think this is a big deal for students. And more importantly, I think it's a big deal for employers. When we look to hire students, it's about completely understanding an industry or a customer segment from what is the goals of the client all the way to what's their ideas for going after the market, how are they going to return all the capital that was invested in marketing back into the company. It's a ship to stern project, and what I believe the students get out of it is they actually have to start out with what the goals are of the company, figure out all the different problems along the way in terms of what customers want, and then ask for the funds. That's what real life is. Real life isn't standing up and creating a company from scratch and just going through the motions. Real life is dealing with real facts and real answers and coming up with real ideas and being challenged on those base assumptions. And I've had no finer experience than the students at Cal State East Bay. And what I look for is I've actually narrowed down our hiring for the group I'm in charge of to Cal State East Bay students because I want them to have the real world experience. I want the Cal State students who have, in a lot of cases, worked their way through school, haven't been handed anything in life, and have made the most out of opportunities to get this real world work in the classroom and in life.
Oh, from the beginning, working with both the staff here and the administration in terms of just exploring the whole concept of us working with the university and what we wanted to accomplish. They have been there step by step. The professor that we're so fortunate to work with has been tremendously supportive, both before we got to the class and in the class. And we really sense some excitement with the class itself. So it's really surpassed our expectations, and we're both very appreciative and humbled to work with the university and expectant that they're going to come up with great results.